welcome to the channel. This channel is my first forecast. This will likely be the channel where I'll post forecasts, particularly for severe weather, and also maybe some snow. We'll see what happens with it. But I thought it was an interesting idea to try doing some videos for forecasts again. So I made a channel dedicated to it. And today there is not much of a risk, but tomorrow, this is the SPC, there is a little bit of a tornado risk in Oregon, coastal Oregon, and a little bit of western California. So I wanted to go into that a little bit. There is also a little bit of a wind risk tomorrow, and also a little bit of wind risk out here in the northeast, northern Pennsylvania, southern New York. And hail risk, actually. There is a hail risk that's interesting. It's only 5% risk, but usually you don't associate the Northeast with hail because, well, there's no real elevated mix layer that is easy to come by there that would support it. So, yeah, 2% tornado risk. We'll go to pivotal weather here. And it'll be interesting to look at this from this angle. We'll go to the recent run. We'll go to continental so we can get a better view of the trough because most of the trough is out in the Pacific right now. So the risk seems to peak at around here, 24 hours from when this run was initiated. See definitely some stronger flow aloft. It's interesting to try to forecast with these northwest setups. I'm not really used to it, but we do see closed 500 millibar low. That is favorable. That'll bring in that cold air all the way from Alaska, and that cold air aloft is going to help these storms and basically make this severe weather risk possible, because unlike areas like Oklahoma and Texas, you don't get that dry air that works its way in, the elevated mix layer, to steepen lapse rates, and that's really what you want to see for those strong supercell thunderstorms. So for a tornado setup to work in the northeast, you're not going to get dry air from anywhere because you're right next to an ocean. So instead you have to get cold air aloft, and that's why we're looking at 500 millibar height and wind speed. So we do see winds are coming onto shore here in Oregon and California, and you see the jet stream, the trough goes all the way up towards Alaska. So that's what's gonna bring those colder that colder air aloft, and you're never gonna see extreme dew points with it, which is why you need this. 800 millibar winds. This is an interesting one. So I'll actually first of all look. We got a close low here, and close low is going to be favorable for those tornado setups, especially particularly when at 850 millibars. If you don't have a close low at 850 millibars, you're not really going to get much of a tornado risk most of the time. So we'll zoom in here to our northwest sector, and we do definitely see that stronger, that strong low-level jet coming onto shore. We'll wait for this to load a bit. But yeah, 18Z, you get this stronger flow coming ashore. 55 knot low-level jet, which is pretty impressive out here in Oregon. And, the low-level jet doesn't make it very far. That's probably due to mountains. But surface winds and dew point, we can also check both at the same time. We do see 50s dew points right along, or low 50s, upper 40s really, along the coast of Oregon. they're out of the south, which is probably favorable here. And yeah, I'll probably just go straight to soundings. There's probably close low out here off to the northwest. But one thing to note is the winds are not super strong. Surface winds are not super strong, particularly when you go just a little bit inland. And that might not be favorable. Like I said, these setups are a little bit different to predict. But alright, let's go straight to the HRRR so we can get a little more detailed look at the storms. Let's just start with significant tornado parameter, though. This is where we can see kind of... Usually you don't always want to use this if you want to be accurate. You don't always want to use this to say how high the risk is going to be, but you do kind of want to use it if you want to look for where the tornado risk might be. And we do see a little bit of favorable environment. Here's a sounding from western Oregon. And yeah, like we said, steep lapse rates aloft, all above 7 over here. And then we do see the hodograph, which is a bit of an interesting one. Surface wind's not very strong, not terribly weak. But then you do get a strong low-level jet. It is out of the southwest. Critical angle pretty low here. So overall, this is kind of just your typical northwest tornado setup. Usually you don't get super strong tornadoes with these kind of situations. You may just get like a few small tornadoes here and there. These tornadoes will probably be pretty fast moving, maybe 45, 50 miles per hour, potentially. And down here in northwest California, we do see, once again, those steep lapse rates, particularly steep lapse rates at the low levels here. But low top storms, that's just what you're going to see out here. Hodographs also look kind of similar, maybe even more veered out here. Reflectivity is where we can get our estimated future radar. See lots of precipitation overnight, and then this is the kind of stuff that could potentially produce tornadoes. This is this is now noon because of daylight savings times, which is recent. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of what you'd expect. One more sounding. Yeah, kind of typical. ELs, which is an estimate to how high the storms could potentially be, up to 7 or almost 8 kilometers, which that's low by usual standards, but maybe not the lowest. This could potentially be on the higher end for what you see for these northwest setups, but not by much. Strong low-level shear, or at least a low-level jet. Yeah, decent tornado risk. So these little lines right here, you could potentially get just brief tornadoes that spin up and cause maybe a little bit of damage, but overall, not too worrying of a tornado risk. Just a situation where you could potentially see 1 or 2 tornadoes with one of these lines. And the risk you just get a bunch of these little storms that come ashore. Not sure what the environment will look like by then. Kind of similar. So risk just mainly late morning through afternoon, and I'd expect potentially to weaken a little bit by evening, and yeah, it kind of does. So yeah, that's your little tornado setup in the northwest. Hope that was helpful to someone. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next forecast.